So we're in a garden that has not been put to bed yet. David, if you want to explain a couple of things about what we're seeing here and how you're going to put these to bed.
Okay, well, starting right here at my feet, this is a row I had of some of my late green beans. This right here, if you want to till it under, these are going to get caught up in your tines, and you're going to have to stop every 5 or 10 feet and pull them out. What I will do when I get ready, probably this weekend I'm hoping, I will come in with a wheelbarrow and I'll pull up all of my old bean binds. I will throw them over into my compost pile. Then I can come in and take my lawnmower and mulch these leaves up. I won't till it till probably in the springtime. And any weeds that are in here, I get on my knees and pull them all up because I try to keep my garden mulched and I keep my garden weed free. Now this right here, I call this my wall of spinach. And this is a Malabar burgundy climbing spinach. And unlike your cool crop of spinach, usually if you plant it in the spring, by June it has started to bolt. This will come in May and will come in until frost. The leaves are smooth and heart shaped. If you put them in a salad, you have to mix it with other lettuce, but it's disease resistant. Insects do not bother it. And what I will do, you can see the seed pods on it. Now, the only drawback on this, seeds will spread and it'll come up everywhere. But what I will do, the freeze has already taken care of this. I will leave this on this feedlot panel until it turns completely dry. And what I'll do is take a rake and just scratch down, and most of the vines will pull off of it because they do twine. Once they start growing, they grow about 4 inches a day. And it's pretty to look at and it's good to eat. But then when they dry, I will rake them down, pull them up. That will go into a burn pile.
Now, why wouldn't you put it in the compost pile? It's what we talked about a little bit earlier.
Because your compost pile, it's got to get over 160 degrees to kill any of the seeds in it. These seeds here, they'll overwinter and they will come up everywhere. Yep. And you wouldn't be surprised at the hundreds and hundreds of plants that I have given away. I hate to throw anything away. And I went to a nursery one year and they had this growing. It's only one nursery I've ever seen. They had one in a 3-inch pot for $3.50 a piece. And I looked at it and I said, I have given away hundreds and hundreds of plants. Matter of fact, Lynchburg Rose came down and they got enough plants one year to fill up a 100-foot bed.
Yep.
But I don't want to put this in my compost because these seeds are real hard. The birds, for some reason, I don't know, I don't think the birds eat them. If they have, they haven't found them. But something like this, I will throw it in the pile and probably burn it.
And then use it.
And then use it, yes, use the ashes.
So back here, if you can see back here, we also have some old corn stalks. David, how are you going to put these away? What are you going to do?
The corn stalks on these, if you after you harvest your corn, you can run your tiller through it and it will chop and mulch it and work it back in. These right here are dried. We pulled out some we used for Halloween. The others like here, I will come in and pull them up by the stalk, throw them over in the compost pile, and they will rot down and they'll be ready as compost to put back down in the garden next year.
And there is no seed on here because you removed the seeds and it's probably
in
right there in your belly.
In the belly or in the freezer.
There we go. So again, this is an example of a garden that has not been put to bed yet. David, I think one of the key things that I really want to focus on is you have a plan. And I think you need to have a plan before you go into putting your garden to bed so you don't get the errant or plants that come up next year accidentally. Right. You know what you're going to do with everything, whether to compost it, whether to burn it, or whether just to bag it up and move it out. But you have to have a plan when you put a garden to bed, and you do have a plan, and I think that's really important.
Well, you start off with a plan in the springtime. You put a plan down as to what you're going to plant and where you're going to plant it. You plant your tall stuff toward the back of your garden, and then your intermediate, and then your smaller stuff. And you've got other stuff that you plant early, like your broccoli and your cabbage and cauliflower and beets. And by the time they have come in, if you are limited on space, when you pull that up, then you can plant beans. And you can plant gardens from spring up until early fall. And depending on the weather, of course this year's been unusually crazy, depending on the weather. I was harvesting beans still in September. So it's just a hit and a miss as far as Mother Nature. But yes, you have a plan when you start out, you maintain that plan, and then also, you may have your tomatoes in one spot where you alternate every 3 years. But if you are limited on your spot and you're restricted, if you put amendments into your soil and you put compost and you put your proper amount of fertilizer after you've done your test, you can sustain them each year in the same spot. And
such as a raised
probably
bed.
and not have too much worry about blight or anything like that. But in a space like this, if I say, okay, for some reason the beets did better this year than in the past, then you remember that and you can plant it. I had some planted in front of a chicken coop. The beets did great, and I had radishes there. Unfortunately, the voles got into it, and I would go down to pull up beets, and half of the beet had been eaten up. So I know next year I will not plant beets down there. I will plant them in one of my other gardens. And you're going to always have to contend with either insects or critters or something, voles, moles, and whatever.
But having that plan is going to set you up for success of whether when you start to plant or when you're putting everything away.
Yes.
And I think that's the important thing to figure out way in advance before you start to move forward. So again, putting your garden to bed is a very important thing, and I hope that you learned some things from this.